All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into something really weird that just happened in the crypto world. A major privacy-focused blockchain, Monero, basically had its network taken over by one single group. Now, you'd think that would be game over, right? A total disaster. But what happened next? Well, that's what makes this whole thing a mystery.
So, let's get right to the heart of it, the big question. How in the world does a huge security threat, something that should be a catastrophic failure, actually make an asset's price go up? It makes no sense. It goes against everything we think we know, and that's exactly what we're going to break down today.
Okay, so check this out. On one hand, you've got a massive exchange, Kraken, basically hitting the panic button. They're screaming 51% attack and slamming the doors on deposits. That's a huge deal. But then, on the other hand, the market just kind of shrugs. Monero's token, XMR, doesn't tank. It actually goes up by 4%. So what gives?
Okay, to figure this out, we need to get on the same page about the threat itself. Like, what even is a 51% attack? And why is it so powerful that people say it can rewrite financial history?
It really all comes down to one word: control. A blockchain is supposed to be secured by this huge, decentralized network of computers, right? They all work together to agree on transactions. Well, a 51% attack is when a single person or group gets their hands on more than half of that computing power. And once they have that majority control, they basically become the boss. They get to decide what's true and what's not on the network.
And that leads us to the biggest, scariest trick in the book, the double spend. Just imagine this for a second. An attacker sends you some crypto. You see it pop up in your wallet, so you send them whatever they bought. But then, behind the scenes, they're using that 51% power to create a secret, alternate version of the blockchain, one where that transaction to you never happened. They push out this new history, the network accepts it, and poof, the coins are right back in their wallet, and you're left holding the bag.
So, you're probably wondering, who was this mystery attacker with all this power? Well, the answer, and especially their reason for doing it, is pretty surprising.
Yeah, this wasn't some anonymous hacker group hiding in the shadows. It was actually another blockchain project, a group called Qubic. And they didn't try to hide it. They came right out and said, yep, that was us. But they insisted they weren't trying to steal a single cent.
And this is where the story takes a really weird turn. Qubic's whole argument was that this wasn't a malicious attack at all. They framed it as a public service. They called it an experiment to prove a point, to show everyone a huge security hole in Monero. They were basically shouting, hey, look, your network isn't safe and we just proved it.
And they didn't stop there. They went out of their way to reassure everybody that no real harm was done. They were very clear. Monero's most important features, its privacy, its speed, all the stuff people love about it, none of that was touched. So from their perspective, it was just a harmless demonstration.
But yeah, the rest of the industry didn't quite see it as harmless. Just listen to Qubic saying no harm done, and then listen to this from Kraken. Kraken saw this significant consolidation of hash rate and immediately raised the alarm because of uncertainty around the security. And this is that classic conflict, right? The person with the power says, don't worry, it's just a test. But the people whose job it is to protect the money see it as a 5-alarm fire.
And to really get why Kraken freaked out, you have to look at the history here. This isn't just something people worry about in theory. These attacks have happened for real. And, well, the results were absolutely devastating.
And we're not talking about ancient history either. Just in the last few years, we've seen this exact kind of attack bring major projects to their knees. Bitcoin Gold got hammered back in 2018. Then Ethereum Classic got hit in 2019. And if that wasn't bad enough, the attackers came back and hit them again in 2020.
And we're talking about real money here, serious money. That Bitcoin Gold attack, the thieves got away with $18 million. This wasn't a test. It was a straight-up digital heist made possible by rewriting the blockchain. And Ethereum Classic? Those attacks siphoned off over $6 million. And you have to remember, every single one of those dollars was real money, stolen from real people and exchanges. That kind of thing completely shatters trust.
So this is why an exchange like Kraken doesn't sit around and wonder if an attacker has good intentions. The history here is just too ugly. The risk of massive financial loss is way too high. When they see someone grab 51% of the power, they have to act fast to protect their customers because they know exactly how bad this story can end.
All right, so with all that in mind, let's get back to the Monero situation. So, now that the dust has kind of settled, what was the real damage from Qubic's little experiment?
Well, one of the most real-world consequences can be summed up in a single number, 720. Because of this attack, Kraken now demands 720 confirmations before they'll credit a Monero deposit. And to put that in perspective for you, with each confirmation taking about 2 minutes, that means users now have to wait for roughly 24 hours, a full day. That's a huge security delay they put in place, and it's a direct result of what Qubic did. So where are we now? While the actual Monero dev team has been totally silent on this, the token's price is weirdly stable, the big exchanges have beefed up their security, and Qubic is still insisting they did the world a favor by exposing a vulnerability. But that price, why didn't it crash? You know, some people think that because Qubic was so loud about not stealing anything, the market just saw it as a weird but successful stress test that Monero actually passed. Others argue that since no money was actually stolen, there was no reason to panic sell. It became a debate about ethics, not a reason to lose confidence in the coin.
And that really leaves us with a big, lingering questions here. First, that bizarre market reaction. Was the stable price a sign that Monero's just a super resilient network that passed a surprise exam? Or was it just a fluke, a lucky break? And second, what Qubic did. Was this a valuable public service, a security audit done out in the open? Or was it just a reckless, dangerous gamble, a publicity stunt that could have gone horribly wrong? The jury is still very, very much out on that one.